What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2. And well, as y'all know, today is Wednesday, so there is going to be a new summit live on this game. And even though Motorfest is out, I figured why not jump on here and maybe complete a few of these. So for this week, guys, Rising Sun strikes back again. So the Mazda RX-8, that's actually a pretty awesome car. And of course, if you do get it, you will be able to move that thing over to Motorfest in the near future. So that is always going to be a win-win, guys. But for the next summit, I'm not really going to go into detail like I did before with these because I would say a lot of players are most likely going after the cars now. So the Ford GT Ruby Edition honestly looks insane. I can't wait to drive that thing, and of course you will obviously be able to move that over to Motorfest at a later date. But and then the last summit, guys, being shown over here is going to be the player's choice. So I'm guessing you can most likely pick like any car of your choice in like a different event, and it's most likely going to be like a mixed style race. But in Platinum, it is going to be the neon green tire, which is also an epic tire, which is kind of odd, but it does look kind of interesting. And of course, it is going to be a new vanity for Motorfest. But besides all that, though, guys, let's go jump into this summit right now. So obviously, you're going to have three of the skills here, and for this, guys, it is going to be a speed trap. So for this, I would actually recommend using a drag car. I know that's a shocker, because most of the time you normally are using drag cars because they do like Mach 17 half the time. But if you guys do want to hit around 400 and like 30 miles an hour, do keep in mind though, you will obviously have to slipstream somebody to do so. But most of the time the drag cars tend to do like Mach 16, so they're normally flying in some insane areas. But I have to admit one thing, guys, you don't obviously have to get 440 miles an hour though, because it's only going to be like a 7 to 8,000 difference to where I am. So I would actually aim for maybe like 395 to maybe 400, I would say is enough. But and then moving over to the next skill, guys, it is going to be an escape. So for this you actually don't have to use a drag car, but I do like going insanely fast and or making this a lot more difficult than it should be. And I do feel like you can actually use like a hypercar if you would like to. But and then moving over to the next skill is going to be an escape, and for this one I once again decided to run the Corvette Stingray. So I would probably say, guys, running something like a drag car on this is a great option, but you also do not have to because a hypercar is also good, and or something like an Alpha GP vehicle, so it is most likely going to come down to preference there. But now moving over to the next skill, guys, is going to be a buoy smashing. So for this one, I actually decided to run the Vector. Don't get me wrong though, you can easily run the 1414 Demon, which I would say in some ways probably like the best boat in the powerboat category at the moment. But for me, guys, the Vector V40R is probably my favorite boat for skills like the buoy smashing and or the slaloms though, because of the way this boat does handle. So I would recommend giving this a try. But moving over to the next event, guys, the first actual event in this summit. So it is going to be a rally raid race. For me, I did run the Ram, which is probably not going to be the best option because of its top speed being like 165, and the Evo Raptor obviously does like 180, so that thing is going to be a better option. But I do love the way the Rebel handles, so I would recommend giving this a try if you guys have not. And I do feel like some rally raid vehicles are definitely not as good as others. But moving over to the next one, guys, is going to be a drag race, so you will have to use the Nissan Skyline GTR. To be honest, it's not a bad car, but I have to admit this, guys, I'm not the biggest fan of like, I guess, drag cars in the Crew 2, and I have actually found myself liking the way they do feel in Motorfest a bit more. But at least when it comes to the Crew 2, I'm not the biggest fan of them. The Nissan Skyline is pretty decent overall, I have to admit that. But moving over to the next event though, guys, is going to be a touring car race with the GTR. It's also going to be the San Francisco USS City race. So with this being a USB Tour race, there is going to be a lot of turns, but luckily the GT3 is great, and I did find this car to be insanely fun to use. Now, for my manual users though, do not be afraid to keep this car in an extra gear around the corners. I did notice it does actually help with coming out of them, and you also can get a lot more speed for that matter. But moving over to the next event, guys, is going to be a forced vehicle race, and this is obviously going to be the RX-8. So this thing is base level with no pro settings on it at all, so it's obviously not going to be like the fastest car out there. But I have to admit, guys, for being a base level and or with base pro settings, it does honestly handle pretty decent for the most part. So I would recommend trying this car out if you guys actually do get it. And by looking at the platinum score right now in this, my goodness, 265k. I do have a feeling this one's going to be insanely low. But moving over to the next one, guys, a drift event with the lovely Lancer Evolution 6. So for this, guys, I got 665k, and I have to admit it, I did not adjust my pro settings on this car, and I figured why not just wing it to see what I actually can get. So I kind of figured getting 665 25k was decent. Do keep in mind you could probably do a bit better with like different pro settings, and do keep in mind guys as well, you don't have to get like 700,000 points on this. I would say you'll probably be fine with like 450k or so, and that's obviously going to be a great thing because I know not everybody's a big fan of drifting. But for the last event though guys, you will have to use a street car of your choice in a hypercar race, so you can use any of the street vehicles if you would like to, but knowing me, I actually decided to run the 911 Carrera 4S, which to be honest is great. It might not be like the best street car in the game, but I have to admit guys, the Carrera 4S really is going to be a fun car to drive, and do keep in mind if you guys are running manual, it is indeed an 8-speed, so you will most likely be shifting this car insanely often, and I really do feel like many of the street cars are actually pretty good, but let's be honest, a lot of them are most likely going to be way better than others, which is I would probably guess and say the Countach is indeed one of those. But besides all that though guys, I did have a great time in this summit, and if you have any questions at all, definitely let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.
you